In 1989, the African Continuum Theater Coalition was created in Washington, D.C. as a service organization to help several local African American community theaters increase the quality and visibility of their work. At the time, the Black population of Washington was over 65% of the city's total population, but African American artists had a very low rate of representation in D.C. theater. 6 years later, the coalition merged under the name of African Continuum Theater Company, with the primary mission to engage all of the city's residents in high-quality theater from a wide range of African American perspectives. African Continuum Theater Company presents quality theater productions, helps build theatrical and literacy skills, and creates educational programming that expands the community's knowledge of African American heritage. We're creating theater festivals, master classes, internships, and performance opportunities for emerging artists in middle school, high school, and college. This process requires immediate funding for venue rentals, artist fees, and production expenses. In the long term, we seek to purchase a permanent facility in Washington, D.C., which would include a main stage theater, office space, rehearsal rooms, and community meeting spaces. This will help us strengthen our local identity and will give us a platform from which to build and sustain our global identity. While Washington, D.C. boasts over 100 theater organizations, African Continuum Theater Company is the only one dedicated to the artistic work of African Americans. We're a small, nimble organization that takes bold artistic risks by presenting provocative and soul-searching work. Without institutional bureaucracy, we're able to collaborate with local, national, and international arts organizations, thereby expanding our audiences and increasing our artistic impact. African Continuum Theater Company employs highly trained, professional artists, which allows us to maintain exceptional quality in our theatrical work. We also provide volunteer and outreach opportunities to local individuals and organizations in order to educate them about the nuts and bolts of professional theater making. Our artistic programming is dynamic and provocative, which inspires a strong connection to our audiences, who demonstrate their loyalty by returning to see our productions again and again. Our board of directors and artistic leadership have a strong, respectful working relationship, with an emphasis on good governance and mutual accountability. This allows us to maintain effective organizational practices as we pursue our artistic and educational endeavors. At African Continuum Theater Company, ticket sales tell us how many people have seen our shows, but our true success is measured by our ability to impact the broader community in a meaningful way. We're successful when we can provide artistic opportunities to many artists and technicians of color, who often are marginalized from the professional theater community. Testimonials from students, teachers, and parents in response to our educational and outreach programming are also very helpful in measuring our impact and effectiveness in the communities we serve. Now that more artists of color are being recognized and engaged by mainstream theaters, some may question the need for a theater company solely dedicated to the work of African American artists. African Continuum Theater Company believes that Black stories are American stories, and that we all benefit from listening to the range of African American voices and experiences. With Black theaters closing down in many major American cities, it's essential that these vital American voices are given a strong platform to enrich the lives of all citizens. Since 1995, African Continuum Theater Company has presented 35 main stage dramatic productions. For artistic excellence, we've been nominated for a total of 16 prestigious Helen Hayes Awards and won 3 of those awards. We're proud recipients of the Washington Post Award for Distinguished Service to the Community, and we have also received the Washington, D.C. Mayor's Arts Award. Through an economic downturn that led a number of other theater companies to close their doors, our organization has managed to sustain high levels of community interest and engagement. Today, the work of more African American artists is visible on a national level. While we see this as great progress, it also means that as a niche theater company, our access to some of the most prestigious Black artists is limited. Our challenge is to acquire the infrastructure and financial resources to attract world-class African American artists with competitive, high-level opportunities, while still supporting up-and-coming artists who need more opportunities for exposure. With arts funding on the decline, we find ourselves competing with larger, more financially stable theaters for both funding and audiences. Consistent funding for our general operating expenses is essential in this uncertain economic climate. Additional resources would afford African Continuum Theater Company the ability to create theatrical productions with world-class sets, lighting, and costumes, and support the exploration of elements such as puppetry, magical realism, and the integration of technology into our mainstage productions. We could also establish a strong apprenticeship program for college students, providing academic and financial support, as well as professional experience and mentorship in the field. Funding to create a robust Playwright-in-Residence initiative would provide comprehensive, multi-year support to emerging and mid-career playwrights who are developing work that will contribute to the rich African American theater canon. Finally, increased support could facilitate the purchase of our own facility in Washington, D.C., where we could consistently present high-quality theatrical and educational programming. In my heart of hearts, this is one I'd really love to do. With additional resources, African Continuum Theater Company would be able to send dramatic performances and workshops into Washington, D.C. area schools free of charge. As school districts confront decreased budgets, in-school arts funding is often first on the chopping block. We would provide local students with strong arts education experiences that could increase their academic and artistic potential in spite of educational budget shortfalls. Additional resources would also give us the opportunity to cover travel expenses for local theater practitioners to create and maintain a network of artists across the African diaspora, using theater as a tool to examine history, culture, and social justice around the world.